welcome to another Tears League episode and cause. We are already in week 19. I ain't gonna lie, I feel like this season went by fast. I don't know where it was, but I just feel like this season went by fast. But 2 more weeks. Last 2 weeks until playoffs. We're in the second round for free agent league and beginners league playoffs. This is where they're at right now in the brackets, and this is basically the daily board. Something I'm gonna do, show a little bit more next year, have a little bit more graphics on this board for next season, but just playing around with it a little bit, and that we get straight into these tiers league power rankings. Let's start off with Big 12. So this is your week 18 results for Big 12. We had me versus Rain. I took that matchup right there. Then we had Kimoy versus Vachel. Kimoy took that matchup right there. Tough L for Vachel. Just a horrible year he's having. Then we had Shamoy versus Chris. I ain't gonna lie to you, that is a crazy boss chess. That's a boss chess, because the way Chris lose, I probably would have lose my mind. I would have rage quit, I would have rage drop. Something would have been happening. I don't know. You'd have hear from me. But yeah, Shamoy took that matchup right there. Then in the West, we had Jumari versus Gino, primetime matchup. I ain't gonna lie, Gino took that matchup with ease right there, and looking really good going into the playoffs. I ain't gonna lie, he fixed the team up really good and looking really strong going into the playoffs. Then we had Plucky versus Kadim. I ain't gonna lie to you, this was a very good matchup. Very good matchup. And Kadim is eliminated out of the playoffs now, and he put up a good fight. If you look at the scores, he put up a good fight. Plucky just had his best week this week. Like, he had his best week. So ain't nothing you could have really do about it. Then we had Iva versus Richie. Richie took that matchup right there, and yeah, looking like Iva will be eliminated out of the playoffs for the first time in his career. And before we move on, this is your Big 12 Week 18 GM of the Week, and is no other than Mr. Plucky. I ain't gonna lie to you again. And as you see in the daily board, he was top 5 in Tiers League scoring, and Plucky had this was his best week in a very long time. Like, he did really good. His team really showed out. His pickups was flawless, and yeah, gotta give his flowers. Plucky, GM of the Week. And this is your Big 12 Week 19 power rankings. At 1 we have Mountain, at 2 we have Shamoy, 3 Kimoy, 4 Gino, 5 Ju, 6 Richie, 7 Plucky, 8 Chris, 9 Rain, 10 Iva, 11 Vachel, and 12 is Kadim. Moving over to your right is your Big 12 standings. You know how it is. Me at 1, Kimoy at 2, Shamoy at 3, Chris at 4, Rain at 5, Vachel is at 6. In the West, we have Ju at 1, Gino at 2, Richie at 3, Plucky is at 4, Kadim is 5, and 6 is Iva. And again, we have Vachel, he's eliminated out of the playoffs. Kadim, Iva also eliminated out of the playoffs. In the West, right now, it's all about seeding and who you want to play. It's kind of rough. Gino pushing for the top seed. Jumari trying to retain that top seed. Who does Richie want to play? Who does Plucky want to play in the first round? That's the question. So, right, like I said, it's seeding. It's all about seeding and who you want to play. And it's going to be interesting. We might have some throw-off weeks this week. We might have some throw-off weeks next week. I don't know. But knowing these GMs, they are already paying attention to the schedules and who they want to play. In the East, Rain, Chris. Most they can get right now is the 4th seed. Who is going to play who? I don't know. This is a big week for both of them, and they gotta win. It's a must win. Chris has the tiebreaker over Rain, and he have to win this week. When it comes to Kimoy and Shamoy, both of them is already settling. When it comes to the 2nd and 3rd seed, it's all about who going to have the points breaker, who's going to be the 2nd seed. And in my opinion, both the teams they're not that far apart. They're not. So you want to actually have that 2nd seed, in my opinion, because that matchup could go down to the last day, the last player, the last second. So in my opinion, You want that second seed. And then before we move on to tier 3, this is Richie's Big 12 Week 19 parlay. In the East, we have me versus Chamois. Don't get me wrong, this would have been a prime time matchup, but I feel like it's so late in the season. I don't feel like me or Chamois is worrying about too much about matchups no more. We're just trying to focus on, building for the playoffs. Then Rain versus Kimoy. Now, again, Kimoy should want to win this matchup just as much as Rain needs to win this matchup. Again, if anybody wants a second seed, it should be Kimoy. Then we have Vachel versus Chris. Vachel is already out the playoffs. Hopefully he stay competitive and he give Chris a push, you know what I mean? And yeah, Chris needs that win. In the West, we have Kadeem versus Ju. Again, Kadeem is out the playoffs. He already getting demoted, but still give that push. I am huge when it comes to when you're in these situations. You still want to try. You still want to give it to your all. You feel me? But again, it's a lot of money we point to these leagues, and for you to just throw off because you out, I mean, it shows your character. You feel me? And again, this is the best of the best. You should want to have a better record. You should not want an L on your resume. So again, I hope these GMs don't throw off. And like, what I mean by throw off, I mean like just don't take it serious. Don't give an effort. Try to win, even though you out. I mean, go to our bang. That's what I can say. Go to our bang. Then we had Richie versus Pluckley, and this is a very interesting matchup because it's really hard to throw off this week if anyone then wants to throw off, because you don't know who's going to get a top seed between Gino or Jumari. So it's like, what do you do in these situations? And Plucky have to win if he wants to be at that 500 mark. Note, he is on demotion watch. Then we have Iva versus Gino. Again, I don't even have to say much when it comes to Iva. He going to try. Regardless of the situation, he know he had a bad year. He going to give it his all till the end. And I respect that when it comes to him. He going to talk his shit. It don't matter. He know he out the playoffs. He know his team was messed up, but he still give it his all. And yeah, give it your all. Last week result, he went 3 for 6. He's 70 out of 108. But again, with that being said, these is the last 2 weeks. Let me see what happened for Big 12. But let's move on to Tier 3. So this is your Week 18 results for Tier 3. We have Jimbo versus Draco. Jimbo took that matchup right there. I told he should have, prep. Because there was no way you were going to beat Jimbo. Then we had Ish versus Oni. That was a big win for Ish. Huge win. Like, this conference is, Jimbo say best, it's dramatic. It's going to go down to the last day. Then we had Risha versus Ras. Risha took that matchup right there. Huge win. Then we have in the West, we have Bread versus Chabo. Chabo actually took that matchup right there. He see another week. He's alive. He still have a chance. It's slim. Super slim, but he still have a chance. Then we have Tobo versus Jet. That was supposed to be a huge matchup. Jet took that matchup right there. Jet had a great week. Scored the most this week in all tiers. And then we had Manny versus Ricky. Ricky took that matchup right there. And before we move on to your power rankings, this is your GM of the week for Week 18, Tier 3, Mr. Ishmael. Big week. Since Luka come back, his team been looking really strong in a little winning streak. That was a big win. I ain't gonna lie to you. I didn't think he was gonna beat Oni. Actually pull it off. And Ish right now is on a streak. So yeah, good job, Ish. Keep doing what you're doing. He's on a Cinderella run. Tier 3, Week 18 GM of the week. And this is your Week 19 power rankings for Tier 3. At 1, we have Jimbo, 2 Jed, 3 Ricky, 4 Tobo, 5 Risha, 6 Ish, 7 Oni, 8 is Bread, 9 is Rush, 10 is Chabo, 11 is Manny, and 12 is Draco. So we're going to get back into these Tier 3 standings. For right now, let me look at Gino's parlay. And this is Gino's Tier 3 Week 19 matchups. We have in the East, Ross versus Jimbo, Risha versus Draco, Ish versus Manny. Again, huge matchup. And then in the West, we have Brett versus Ricky, Chabo versus Jed, and Manny versus Tobo. The top right is last week's result. Gino went 3 for 6, and he is 68 out of 108. So going back to these standings, if you use Ross, you have to win this week. If you use Ish, you have to win this week. And to be honest, if you use Oni, you have to win this week. Especially if you want to avoid playing Jimbo in the first round. Have to. So like again, these standings when it comes to Tier 3, these next 2 weeks is very important for the East. Not so much the West because Jed versus Chab. I think Jed is going to win this week if we're being completely honest. And then when it comes to Brad, he might secure his spot, but you want to win this week. You want to win this week because this might be a first round matchup. So if I was you, I would take this week serious just to see how you match up with Ricky, and you might need to do some prepping going into the playoffs. But with all that being said, that's really it for Tier 3. Let me move on to Tier 2. So this is your Week 18 results for Tier 2. We have Javon versus Ian. He took that matchup right there. Boss versus Jordan. Bosch took that matchup right there. Demoy versus Rich. Big win for Demoy. Big win. And then in the West, we have Brandon versus Grove. Brandon took that matchup right there. Lock versus MJ. MJ took that matchup right there. And then JP versus Ross. Ross went ahead and take that matchup right there. This is your Tier 2 Week 19 power rankings. We have MJ at 1, Ross at 2, Brandon at 3, Bosch at 4, Grove is at 5, Javon is 6, 7 is Jordan, 8 is Demoy, 9 is Rish, 10 is JP, 11 is Lock, and 12 is Ian. In your Tier 2 standings, we have Jordan, Bosch, Rish, Javon, Demoy, Ian. In that order, in the East, in the West, we have Ross at 1, 2 is MJ, 3 is Brandon, 4 is Grove, 5 is Lock, and 6 is JP. Don't really have much to say with Tier 2 this week. Other than Ross and MJ, like again, you want to have that top seed. And damn 40 points going into the playoffs is huge. You want to have it. And this is Chris Tier 2 Week 19 parlay. In the East, you have Bosch versus Ian, Javon versus Rish, Demoy versus Jordan. In the West, we have Grove versus JP, Brandon versus Lock, and Ross versus MJ. And this is Chris last week results. And like I said, I'm not going to really show much for the parlays this week. Next week, we'll go dive into it more. And yeah, that's really it for Tier 2. Moving on to Tier 1 Week 19 power rankings. We have Lock at 1, Pure at 2, Chad at 3, Winston at 4, Slick at 5, 6 is Marcel, 7 is Rhino, 8 is Joseph, 9 is Gillo, 10 is Kerry, 11 is Dylan, and 12 is Sharif. And like I said, this is the last 2 weeks of the season for the Tiers League. We are in the second round of the playoffs for Free Agent League and Beginners League, and it's very entertaining. I am not going to lie, it's very entertaining, especially in Beginners League. I'm very excited to see what happens this week for those 2 leagues, and I appreciate everybody that's been keeping up with my podcasts for my Tiers League all year. We're close to our ending, and again, we have a lot more content to push out for Cuz. Took a break from it, and we're gonna get right back on track. And again, I appreciate y'all, and yeah, that's it for this week. I'm out.